Right folks, so what we're going to do here is a question here based on the topic of developments, and this is the type of question that you could be asked maybe on a junior cycle exam. Okay, so it says here, the figure shows a design for a display case. We can see the little display case here. Part A, we have to draw an elevation looking in the direction of arrow A. Now, what I always do here, this is a bit of orthographic projection. I always work out my lengths, my widths and my heights. Now my lengths are always associated with the elevation, and you can see here arrow A is my elevation. How long is the object? Okay, so you can see here it doesn't tell us down here, but if we come up to the top it's 25 plus 30, so my overall length is 55. Okay, then it tells us we have to draw an end view in the direction of arrow B. That is to do with my widths. How wide is the object? 10, 20 and 10. That is the overall width of the object as well, so it's 40. And then what I need then for also is the overall height. And if I go from the bottom up, it's 10 plus 20 plus 10 plus 30. Overall, that will add up to 70. So, part A, we have to draw an elevation looking in the direction of arrow A. So that's what we're going to start with. I'm going to do XY line, okay, about here. And I'm going to keep it to the right hand side of my page, and I'll explain why in a second. So, I'm just going to do a little XY line here. 40, about there, I think. Would be appropriate. Okay, so there's my XY line. Now, normal rules of orthographic. What way is arrow A pointing? Arrow A is pointing to the right, so my view for the elevation, view A, goes on the right hand side of the XY line, which means I'm going to do a length of 55 and a height of 70. So marking, starting here on the right hand side of the line, I'm going to mark 55 to here. I'm going to do a height of 70. Okay, so do a little line like that. I'm going to mark up 70 millimeters. And there's my box for the elevation. Now, view B, arrow B is pointing to the left. So what that means is it goes on the left hand side. Keep a little gap. And then what is the width? The width is 40. So from that, you keep a little gap between your view. Measure 40 millimeters, really easy. I'm going to draw in the box for view B. Just have to then put in all the relevant details. So same height, and there we go. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in here so we can see it before we get onto the surface development. So we can see here we've got the elevation. Now I'm going to put in the measurements for my elevation. Okay, so my measurements are at the very tip top on the right hand side. Measuring in from left to right, it's 25, okay, with 30 left over, and then at the very bottom it goes up 10, 20 and 10, so I'm going to put those in. So marking from there up, 10, 4 up to 3 is 10, plus 20 plus 10. Okay, there's my measurements. Now all I'm going to do is then connect this guy to here, and that is what our end elevation actually looks like. Okay, a little mark there and there, just to identify those. So view A, let's get that drawn in now. Nice and heavy. So we've got that guy. This guy here. That's the sloping surface. And then finally, top surface. So that is view A. Now in regards to view B, I'm going to bring over any of my heights. So the 10 will come across, then the 20, then this guy, and I've got two widths then that I have to do. It's 40 wide altogether, but I'm going to measure from left to right. I'm going to go 10 plus 20. That's going to come up here, and that's the little detail at the front for this little display case. We have a little kind of a square there. So drawing in my end elevation now. Back and do the two little vertical lines there now in a second. There we go, that is part A and B of the question done. They asked us to draw the elevation and end elevation of our objects, which is what we have done. Zoom out there so we can see it again. Right, so we've drawn the elevation, we've drawn the end elevation of the object. Let's put that into the screen there a little bit, sorry. Okay, so elevation went on the right, we can see this surface here, end elevation was this one here, 10, 20 and 10. Now based on that it looks obviously a little bit, that's more of a rectangle, whereas this guy is a square. I'm going off the measurements that they give us, okay? More than likely that was probably meant to be 30, looking at it, but we'll go with the measurements that they've given us. Now, it then tells us we have to do a complete surface development of the display case. So what I always try and do is identify how many faces do I have on it. Okay, so if we consider the base as a face, so the base would be one face there. So I'm just going to write this information in. I've got the base. Now that's the bit at the bottom, okay, which is going to take the shape of a rectangle. So the base, I have one base. Does the base connect onto the back? Yes, it does. I have the back. Then I have a side and a side. Side 1 and side 2. 1 and 2. So that's 4 surfaces. Base, back, side, side. Now I've done the base, I've done the back of the side and the side. I've got the front, which is the guy containing that kind of little surface there. I've got the top. And then what am I missing? The slanted surface. So I'm just going to say slant as well, or sloping, whatever you want to call it. So how many does that add up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 surfaces. So I'm going to end up having to develop out 7 surfaces. So here we go. I'm going to use the object that's already given to me. So from the XY line, I'm literally going to go out like this, and then I'm going to take the overall height out as well. And the first surface I'm actually going to do is the back. So if we come over here and we try and imagine what would the back surface look like. Well, imagine you'd have an edge running in there like that, and you'd have this edge going down to meet it. So we can see that face there. That is the back surface, okay? So what I need to work out the back surface is, I need to know what the overall height is, and I need to know what the overall width is, because that's the width in the direction of arrow B. How wide is that line? It's obviously 40 wide, and the overall height then is 70. So I'm actually just redrawing that guy. So I'm going to start with the back surface there. So I'm taking the true width and the true height. And I'm going to start it out about here, because off the back is going to come the 2 sides. So I'm going to start about, I think about here. So I'm going to say right there, I'm going to take this distance here, because that's the distance for the back of it, and I'm going to mark it over. That's my 40. So there we go. I'm going to draw this little line up here, and draw a line up here. And what I've got there now is the back surface. Now remember, because I've got the back surface, the 2 sides are going to attach onto it, the base is going to attach onto it, and the top. So what I'm going to put in here now is all my fold lines. Okay, this is where all the edges would crease over each other and they would fold together. So putting this guy in. There's my fold lines, and I have fold lines all around it in this case. So that is the back surface. B-A-C-K. Back surface done. Now, what can attach onto the back? What I'm going to actually attach onto the back first of all is actually the base, which is this guy here. So if you imagine that would come down here like that. So that guy there, the bottom part. Now where would the base attach on? It has to attach on to the bottom here. So how do I work out the base? Well, if it folds out, it's just going to come out like this. Okay, and where do I get the measurement for the base? I've already got this one done, because that's that guy. I need this measurement. What's that measurement there? It was 55. Can I get it from over here? Yes, I can. I can take the measurement from here. Take that distance, and I come here, and I mark it down. May need to extend my line a little bit further. Okay, there we have our base. Now, once again, the base will attach onto the front. So I'm going to put the front attached onto the base here. It's just how I'm interpreting it. And in regards to this guy, this is actually going to go as a heavy line here, because there's nothing attaching on there. So I've now got the base, which is done. I have the base in the back. Now I'm going to do side 1 and side 2. So the sides are going to fold off the back here and here. They're going to fold out like this, down, and if they're like this, and down here. So what we have to do is we just have to redraw this guy here, because that's the true shape of the side. So I need the measurements then. I need the overall length, which I've got here, and I'm going to mark it out like this. It's going into my X there, and I'm going to mark the same distance out the other side. Really easy. Now it's just hitting here on the X. I probably did my XY line a little bit too far. So that's going to go up there. This guy is going to go up here. So the side is going to be contained in that section there and this section. But we can see here we have the inclined line. So how will I get that? All I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this guy over. And you'll see that it'll hit right there. Okay, so the sides are now going to go from here out to there, here to here, up as far as there, up as far as there. Now, I have to get this little line here. How do I get that? Well, the line at the top is going to be a true length as well. So I can take that distance here, as far as there, taking that distance, and I'm going to mark it out here. But very important, it inverts on the other side and over as far as there. And there we go. So that there now is going to be our two sides. So now that we have our sides, I'll put in my little inclined line here and here. And we've now got side 1 and side 2. Now I just like to label them, just know as I'm ticking them off. So imagine those essentially all would fold. They're folded down now, but they would come back like this and the base would fold up as well. Okay, so we've got those. Now what can I attach on up here? I've done the sides. The next one I'm actually going to do, I'm not going to do the front, I'm going to do the top. So the top is actually going to go up here. And how do I get the distance for the top? Well, the top is this distance, okay? Because that's the measurement for the top, which is 25, and I can take that from over here. So it's always using your orthographic views to work out your distances. So there's my distance. And all I'm going to do, sorry, forgot to bring my lines up, the top is going to attach up off of this guy. And I took that distance from there. I'm going to mark it up here, and there's the top. And the exact same thing, that's going to come across. Got that there, and that there. And there is the top. Now what am I missing? What I'm missing is the front and the slanted surface. So the front is the next one that I'm going to do. Now where can the front attach onto? It can either attach onto one of the sides, okay, and it could go out here, but because my question's in the way and I don't have much space here, I'm not going to use the sides. Where else can the front attach onto? It can also fold out and fold up from the base. So I'm actually going to attach it onto the base down here. So in that case, I need to actually extend this a little bit further. Down, okay. I might have to move this down now as well. Okay, so this is where the front is going to go. How do I work out the front? I need to know what the height of it is, because that's the distance. And it's 40 high, and that's the front surface there. Or I could take it from here as well. I'm going to take it from over here. That's the height of the front surface. Okay, I'm going to mark that distance down. Okay, and there we go. It's going to come down as far as there. I'm going to draw my line across. And it can also come down as far as here. Now, there is the front. I am missing a little bit of detail on the front. I have to get in those measurements, which is 10 and 10. So I can put those in. Probably shouldn't have written front in just yet. I'm going to mark that distance there. I can mark it down. And then I can take the distance from here as well. And mark it from where the bend line is. So those two little marks that I just did there, they'll come across. And then the measurements here were 10, 20 and 10. So it'll be the same distances, 10 plus the 20. And there we go. Actually, front just went inside it. I actually got lucky there. So I put in the details if the details are there. Okay, and now the last bit that I'm missing. Okay, I've got the front done. Last bit I'm missing is the slant. So I need to know what is the length of that surface there. Okay, I need to know what the length of that surface is there. Where do I get that from? Okay, now the slanted surface can go off a couple of places here. I could either do it off of this guy here, which is going to be a little bit more awkward. Excuse me. I could either do it off of this surface here, and it would come out like this, which is a little bit more awkward. But the slanted surface can also attach onto the front because we've kind of got a fold line there. Okay, but all I need to know is what is that distance. Now that distance is the angular line here, this little key line here. So I'm going to take that distance there, okay, on my compass, and I'm going to attach it onto the front as well. So bringing this down, got the distance on my compass, and it attaches onto the front. So I'm going to attach it on here. Now there's lots and lots of different ways we can do a development. Okay, it's just whichever works out as, I suppose, the most appropriate for you based on the space on your sheet. And based on how I set up mine, I probably should have maybe had the front over here, but that's how I went about it. Okay, so I've got the slanted surface now, so that will come down as far as there. So I took that red distance there and I marked it down here. Okay, now that I have that, that's my last surface, so I'll actually heavy in this line here at the bottom. And there we go, there's the slant. And I'll tick that off as well. There's my 7 surfaces, all true shapes of surfaces. The back, the top, the base, the front, the slant, the side, and the side. And if I was to cut that out and bend it in all those, I would end up making this object here. Okay, so there you have it, guys. That there is a little development question, all really to do with taking the true lengths and the true widths and the true heights off of this guy. And what we use at the very start is you can actually just take from the XY line, you can bring the heights over, and it's a nice way to start a question. So that's the question done there, guys. Hope you found that helpful.